I'm honored to introduce my first speaker of the day, Stephen Howard. He's an award-winning leadership author, and I'll read a little bit about him. Stephen is an award-winning author of 21 leadership, business, and motivational books, and the editor of 9 professional and personal development books in the Project U series. His latest book is How Stress and Anxiety Impact Your Decision Making. His book, Better Decisions, Better Thinking, Better Outcomes: How to Go from Mindful to Mindful Leadership. He received a Silver Award from Nonfiction Authors Association. He also wrote leadership lessons from the Volkswagen Saga, which won 3 prestigious Publishing Industry Awards in 2017 from the Independent Press Award, National Indie Excellence Award, and San Francisco Book Festival Award. So you see, his accomplishments speak for themselves. He's also the author of Great Leadership Words of Wisdom. Howard is well known and recognized for his truly international and multicultural perspective, having lived in the USA for over 30 years, in Singapore for 21 years, and in Australia for 12 years. He currently resides in Southern California. And without further ado, Stephen, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much, Angela. What a wonderful, wonderful introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, if I gave you Harry Potter's magic wand, what would you wish for to lead your business to success? So I actually want you to pick up a pen or a phone or whatever you have handy, put it in your hand and pretend that it is Harry Potter's magic wand. And think of 2 or 3 things. What would you wish for to help you lead your business to success coming out of the pandemic? And I'll give you a few seconds to think about that. So there you have Harry Potter's wand on the screen. How are you going to use it? I suspect many of your answers had to do with things like stability, certainty, COVID-19 gone out of our lives, lower taxes, a pool of investors knocking at your door, increased productivity for yourself, for your teams, maybe even customers lining up at your door to buy your products or services. Well, unfortunately, I don't have Harry Potter's magic wand, but I do have a formula for sustainable success in the post-COVID world. And that formula is elevating your leadership mindset, taking it to greater heights, and then adding to that the essential human leadership skills that you need to lead in a post-COVID world. The world has changed so much in 18 months, but combining enhance a revised leadership mindset and changing your focus on what skills you use, this will give you sustainable success. And when I talk about an elevated mindset, I want to go back to that wise philosopher that all of us baby boomers know so well, Yoda. And Yoda told us in the Star Wars films, unlearn what you have learned. And that is so critical in today's world because we're going to have to, in all honesty, going to have to unlearn what we've learned as leaders. We're going to have to apply new skills and elevate our mindset. And so when I talk about elevating your mindset, particularly as an entrepreneur, here are 6 tips for you. Number 1, remember that you lead people. You manage things, you manage projects, you manage policies, you manage procedures, but you don't manage people. I don't know anyone who wants to go to work, whether it's back at the office or in a factory or on a job site, in a customer's office, or even working from home, who wants to be managed. Stop thinking that you manage people. Elevate your thinking so that you lead people. You manage things. You manage projects, you manage policies, you manage procedures. Secondly, talking about leadership. Leadership is an art. Yes, there's some scientific principles of leadership, but leadership is really the art of achieving progress through the involvement and actions of others. And note that I use the word progress, not results. Yes, we want to aim at results. We have objectives. We want to get as close to the results or even exceed the results if possible. But the key thing to focus on is, are you making progress? Is your team making progress? Are they making progress towards the results? And more importantly, are they making progress towards working together? And when I talk about together, you notice that my definition of leadership is art of achieving progress through the involvement and actions of others. And so often, particularly when we have our manager hat on, we think only about the actions. We need, as leaders, we need to get people involved. If possible, get more people involved in the decision-making process. If you can't get them involved in the decision-making process, from a strategy standpoint, at least get them involved in the decision-making process of how are you going to implement? How are we going to execute? Because the more people are involved in the planning and deciding of how to implement and how to execute, the greater your chances of getting buy-in and the greater your chances of achieving the results and the objectives that you've set. Now, talking about getting people involved, and this leadership is a people business. The third point I want to share with you today, changing your mindset. The war for talent is over. And quite frankly, talent has won. And this is why we're seeing the great resignation of 2021. 11 million people in the United States resigned their jobs in April, May, and June, according to the US Bureau of Statistics. Last number I've read so far for the year 2021, and here we are in early October. So in the last 9 months, over 17 million people have resigned their jobs. And we're not just talking about waiters and service people and busboys in restaurants or people in the retail organizations, in retail stores. We're talking about IT people, accounting people, professional people, what we sometimes refer to white collar workers. Interestingly, I was talking with a gentleman in Mexico City a couple of weeks ago, and his company has hired over 200 IT people in the last 6 months. And he said the biggest hurdle that they have when they start to talk to people about these job openings, the number one question they get is, can I work from home? And if so, how much time, what portion of the week can I work from home? And if the answer is you can't work from home, you have to come into the office, he's telling me that these IT professionals, these people who write source code and run websites and run applications and digital marketing, they basically say, I'm not coming in for the interview. I won't come in the interview. I won't join you on the Zoom call for the interview. I'm not interested if I can't work from home at least a good portion of the time. So that's happening in Mexico City. It's happening in the United States. It's happening in Australia. It's happening in Europe. Talent has won. Talent now has the power to decide, and they are deciding, whether it's worth a long commute to go to an office place, whether it's worth working for your organization, and does your organization have the right social concepts? Are you supporting the planet? They're making these decisions not just based on income and not just based on, oh, you sound like you got an interesting product, I'd like to work for you. Those days are long gone. Mm-hmm. Also long gone is control. Control went out the window in March 2020 when we were forced into lockdowns around the world and everyone started working from home. Employees are now empowering themselves, again, witnessed by the great resignation. So it's really time to rethink what it means to be a leader and the essential skills that leaders require for long-term sustainable success. So I'm going to go in a few minutes from now and talk to you about some of these essential leadership skills. The last 2 points, I really hope you focus and contemplate and think about, because this is really going to change your mind about leadership. About 10 years ago or so, we used to really applaud the leaders who, they would say, I get the most out of my employees, or, leadership was all about getting the most out of your employees. Well, that's no longer true. Today, it's about putting the most into your employees, developing them, giving them the tools to be successful, getting them involved in your business process, put into your employees, and then you will reap the rewards and benefits for doing so. And the last one's going to be a little controversial, I admit. But I hope after attending this session today and listening to all the other great speakers, that tomorrow, the first thing you do is you fire your human resource department or team. And I'm serious, fire everybody. But then hire them back 30 minutes later as your human capabilities team or your human capabilities department. Human resources today is all about policies and procedures and paperwork and long drawn out processes and rules and regulations. Again, who wants that? Yes, you have to have some of that. I'm not discounting that, quite frankly. But on the other hand, the focus of your human resource team, which now I would call your human capabilities team, should be about the development and growth of your business workforce potential. Their number one focus is how are they going to grow the potential of your workforce? How are they going to hire better people who can be developed and grow your business? Because you're going to read a lot of articles today about artificial intelligence and things like that. Jobs aren't going away. Be a lot of articles about the future of work. Well, quite frankly, the future of work is now. And in the future work, what employees, or really what humans want, remember, you're not hiring employees, you're not hiring staff, you're not hiring team members, you're hiring humans. And that's why it's partly called these human leadership skills. What humans want to feel good at work are three things. We all want to be respected. We want to be accepted for who we are and what our ideas are. And most importantly, we want to be included. And and again, this goes back to what I talked about, that the talent has won. If you have an organization, if you have a culture where people are not respected, people are not accepted, people are not included, people are going to walk. They're going to find other opportunities. Because this is what your humans need from their leaders. Everyone needs a clear line of value. Now, I admit to you there's some portion of the workforce, whether it's 3% or 6% or even 10%, it doesn't matter. People just come in, clock in, do their job and leave. But even if it's 10%, that still means 90% of your workers wake up in the morning and they come and they want to know how are they going to contribute to the success of your organization. People want to know how they contribute value. So I tell people, the people I coach in leadership, everyone should be explaining what is their clear line of value that each one of your team members provides. How do they contribute to the team? How do they contribute to the department? How do they contribute to your organization? What is the value that they are contributing? This is how you motivate people. This is how you get people engaged. Employees also want flexibility in getting work done. Again, that's why you're seeing such resistance to, going back to the office 5 days a week, 10 hours a day or whatever it happens to be. People have lives. And I think one of the silver linings of the pandemic is people realizing that life is just not about work. Life is not just about business. I know that's hard to stomach, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, because you're putting your heart and soul into developing your business and growing your business. And I congratulate you for that. I've been an entrepreneur since 1993. I understand the sweat and blood and tears you put into your business, but you also have to understand that the people you bring into your business, they need more flexibility because it's not their business. They need flexibility. Sometimes if they want to get their report done at 5 a.m. because they have kids being schooled at home or they have other responsibilities, we as leaders, we have to understand that. We have to understand and we have to show empathy to the people that we hire and the people we employ and the people that we're working with. Because life is not solely about work anymore. The other thing employees need from their leaders, two things, and they go hand in hand: trust and transparency. And one thing I encourage leaders to do now is, when you promote somebody into a manager position, one of the most fearful things they have is they're afraid of not knowing something. And that's why they tend to micromanage, which is another issue. We as managers, we as leaders, in today's world, we cannot have all the answers. It's okay to say that we don't have the answer. It's okay to say in front of your team members, the people reporting you, you know what, I'm not sure what we should do. Let's sit down and discuss it. Let's look at our options. Let's work together on this. Or I don't know what the answer is. Let's go find some research. Let's go find an expert. It's okay not to have all the answers. And by doing that, by being transparent like that as a leader, you build trust. And trust is the foundation of leadership. I don't even call trust a skill anymore. If you don't have trust with the people who are reporting to you, it doesn't matter what you do as a leader, you won't be successful. Trust is the foundation. And also in transparency. Even now, if you don't know when you're going to be bringing people back to the workplace, tell them that, look, we don't know. Here are the factors we're looking at. Here's what we're taking into consideration. We will let you know as soon as we know. People need to be kept involved. They need to be kept informed because they have so many questions about what's happening these days. And lastly, and when you do bring people back to the workplace, please focus on workplace wellness. Workplace wellness is not one of these topics of the month or topics of the year. Workplace wellness is now becoming a major factor, a major environmental factor of people deciding whether to stay or whether to leave their organizations. People want a place where they can thrive, where they can collaborate. People enjoy collaborating if you give them the opportunity. But they also want to be psychologically, mentally, emotionally, and physically well with reduced stress. And I wish I had time to talk about stress, but stress is one of the most debilitating things happening in the workplace today. It's the number one, workplace stress is the number one concern for adults, particularly in the United States. It used to be family affairs and financial concerns. But even before the pandemic, it was stress. And I've written a book about that, which we can talk about in the questions and answers. But what we need to do as leaders is figure out how to help people reduce and manage stress. We can't get rid of it. Stress is always going to be there. How do we help people reduce and manage their stress? Because sustainable success comes from employee engagement. And employee engagement comes from leadership. As I said before, great leadership is an art. It's the art of achieving progress through the involvement and actions of others. And that's why great leaders are strong in both leading people and leading for results. While good leaders, and quite frankly, most entrepreneurs, typically lead only one or the other. They're either good at leading people or they're good at leading results. So how do you become a great leader in the new reality? Here are the 5 skills that I suggest you focus on. You can read up on these. I won't go into a lot of detail, but emotional intelligence, which starts with understanding others. And actually it starts with understanding yourself first, and then it goes into understanding others and understanding other situations. Agility, being flexible, being able to pivot, being able to change course when necessary. Because the third skill, and this is going to be it's hard to teach this, but you can teach this. The third skill, and probably the most important skill for the next 3 to 4 years, is how you handle ambiguity and uncertainty, because we are going to be living in a world of ambiguity and uncertainty, at least for the foreseeable future, which means how do you adapt? Adaptability and agility kind of go hand in hand, but they're slightly different. But how do you adapt when, even though you may have great plans, and then boom, new government rules come in about lockdowns, or even right now. I mean, what if I saw a bill being proposed the other day, for those you have businesses where your people have to travel, and maybe you have an open vaccine policy in your organization. It's up to the individual to make their decision. But then what if this bill passes Congress that says you have to be vaccinated in order to get on an airplane? You got to be adaptable. Right now, that's the ambiguity and uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen. That's going to affect everybody in their businesses. And then lastly, resilience. And I think one thing we again learned during the last 18 to 20 months is that we can be resilient. Things can look dark and gloomy and terrible, but we can bounce back. But speaking of that, please don't rely solely on the bounce back of the economy to create your business growth. Yes, that's going to help. There's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, the economy is bouncing back fairly strongly. But the bounce back is also going to cover up any leadership skill gaps you have in your organization. So understanding and implementing these essential skills from the very top of your organizations right through to your first line managers and supervisors will put you in a better position for sustainable growth, no matter what direction the roller coaster ride of the economy takes in the coming months. So I encourage you to take this approach to human leadership, this approach to emotional intelligence, agility, handling ambiguity and uncertainty, being adaptable, being resilient. Apply it everywhere. Apply it to your team members, apply it to your employees, apply it with your business partners, with your clients, with your contractors, with your suppliers. Again, as I said at the beginning, the formula for success coming out of the pandemic is having this elevated mindset, changing your mindset about what leadership is all about, enhancing that mindset. and then adding these essential skills, these essential human leadership skills to your portfolio, to your toolkit. Now, I did tell you that I don't have Harry Potter's magic wand, but I will tell you there is a magic wand available to you. And that is lifelong learning for both yourself and for others. So you are to be complimented for taking time today to participate in this Mastering Entrepreneurship Summit. I hope you learned throughout the day from my fellow speakers. Thank you very much. And I think we're going to turn it over to Angela for questions. And then I have a little gift for you before I close off. Thank you very much.